I am trying a video. I've never done videos. I don't like videos. I don't like hearing my own voice when I do videos, but when I was installing this light bar on the 21 Bronco, I could find very little information on the internet, so I thought, I'll try to record something to see if I can help. And I guess the most unique thing about this is there is a wire that comes up through the Bronco up to the top of the windshield for you to tap into. And that's not that hard of a thing to get to, but it's a pain in the butt to pull up through that little hole. And the hole I drilled. You can see I've drilled it, I've tapped it into the harness, and then I've tapped, and then I've siliconed it. And I'm just waiting for that silicone to dry right now. So where I'm at right now is I'm trying to wait for that to dry, then I'll close everything up, put the bracket back on, torque it and everything. The other unique thing is inside the car is pulling down this guy, the windshield visor, and that is with a screw about yay big. It's a 7mm, I think. After you use a pry tool to sort of get off the cover, you remove that, and there's a little clip here. If I can actually look at the video, there's a little clip that you can disconnect, and that visor will just sort of tip out. So it like tips out and then down. You can sort of see on the visor, there's a little like lip there. You sort of tip that down and out. And once you get that, you just have to be ginger about pulling this piece down. And the wire sits way up here in the front. Once I got the wire, I routed it over, and after I drilled my hole, I pushed it up there, and that took me a long time just to get that wire up into the hole I drilled. And once I got it up there, I did the trick of putting an old wire down through it, taping the two wires together and pulling it up, but then stripping it and then wiring it to the harness, butt clipping it, butt crimping, whatever it is. Then you put it into the harness. The other thing is, I'll eventually do this, is Bronco. This is actually the reason I got this light bar, is because of him. I saw him at Overland Expo, and I loved the setup and how thin it was. And then I've had a Heretic light bar on my Jeep that I've had for years and I've loved. So putting that all together, I'm going to eventually tuck this inside this weather stripping. There's also a bolt. You see this bolt here on the underside. You can see the bolt, and that's where I put the ground. So back through the plastic trim, I put my own bolt between the bottom of that bolt and this bolt to make a ground, and then I'll tuck that back in as well to get that all. I took this piece off for the soft top just to help me get at things. And so that's still drying. I put a lot of silicone on there. My fat fingers should not have touched it. All right. Chalk that up as another dum-dum. All right, so underneath the glove box, so you take that out, and you actually just pull. There's a little lever here on the side that just pulls out once you push in the two side clips. And then the wires you want down here, I did the gray and orange one to the one that ran from the top, which I believe is like brown and white. So if you can see that, you can sort of see where I spliced them together. So I did a soldering clamp on that one. I'm testing those out for like you just twist them together, and then you heat shrink the soldering clamp together. And then you put a heat shrink on top of it. So that's that's the glove box. And the last step was since I haven't been really dealing with powered wires up to this point, then finally I went through and removed the negative. And since I'm doing the aux 1, I just heat shrink that brown and white wire that came from the under the glove box to the yellow wire, so aux 1, and then I butt crimped those two with some heat shrink over the top of it. So that's the overarching. I do some zip tying to sort of clean everything up, but once I'm done. But that's the easy version of what I did. But it was a pain in the butt. I'll maybe do a quick video once I have this thing lit up and finalized. So I just wanted to talk again real quick that the hard part is actually this whole section up here. Everything else is pretty easy, like the wiring underneath the glove box, the wiring underneath the hood. That's like took me 2 minutes. It is this part of getting the visor off. This is a new car. I pulled off trim before, but I was just nervous to pull off the visor and pulling back the trim. And then the other part was I just wasn't sure where to ground the negative. You know, putting the negative in here was a little scary. I just, because there's not anything up here that I would consider a good negative point. So I did find some things on the Bronco forum that I was able to pull. And that's where I found somebody used the bottom of that screw, and that's where my ground goes into that there. So once I figured that out, or got support from the forums, Bronco, Heretic has been amazing customer service. They're highly recommend them just for their customer service and their quality of their light bars. But I'll film another quick clip once I have this thing all tightened up. Okay, so I torqued that all down. I sort of tucked all the harness in the weather stripping. I have this on the outside right now. I'm not sure if I really like that. I'm probably have to go through that weather stripping at some point. I'm gonna have to play with that. Not happy with that laid out, but everything else is tightened up, and just test the light bar. All right, lights on. Sort of see that coming on. Again, I gotta figure that out. Any suggestions, I'd appreciate it. But otherwise it works, it's up and running.